I see some of our. So, how come that you are here from Ganges? For you? Very. So, okay, okay. Oh, hello. Okay. So today, not our regular Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Today we will be out of the jungle of knowledge. We'll be in the light of something else, maybe the Brazil, the Vedanta in Brazil, and how things are there, how the Swamis are there about the Brazil. And we have a very new friend from Brazil. Then he is in America, and maybe you can say a few words about him. So I welcome on behalf of the Vedanta Society and on behalf of my personality, that is Swami Atmajnananda. So many of you know Atmajnananda is a Washington DC. It is Atmajnananda, so almost close, but little difference is there, and great difference in the meaning. He joined the Ramakrishna Mission Sharada Peeth, which is just adjacent to the Belur Math. The moment you are entering into the Belur Math, at the left-hand side, the huge educational complex that is called Sharada Peeth. So, in 1988, after completing graduation in the Bengal University, he had attended the National Youth Convention, and Swami got the initiation from Swami Bhuteshananda ji. And then he was after that from the Bhuteshananda ji, you got he then from Sharada Peeth. I know him because he was in Advaita Ashram also when I was also there, and I got sannyas in 1886. So obviously he joined in 88. I can just bless him. So no, it's a junior one. So, it's a junior. So that's way. That just will make the fun. And he's a very good singer. And of course, now we will be listening, and you can give the certificate how good speaker he is. But he's a wonderful person. Wonderful person. So whoever met him, they all became his good friends. And now he is doing a very challenging job in the Rio, Brazil. At the new center, the devotees are very good, but economically and otherwise, they need a lot of help, and slowly, slowly, that will develop. And you know, the Vedanta means, that is a very unique definition Swami Vivekananda gave. Whenever we talk about the Vedanta, we talk about the Shankaracharya, Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya. But Swami Vivekananda, he said Vedanta means self-confidence. The more I grow, the more it seems to me that everything lies in manliness. And that manliness means the self-confidence. The moment I know that I am going to achieve it, I am going to have it, that is sufficient. And stretching the hand for help, that is dangerous for the humanity. One should not do that, except the sannyasins, because they do that not for themselves, but for the God. So that is allowed for the sannyasins. That is Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna taught to Ma Saradamani Devi, this self-confidence. Now friends, everywhere, all over the world, we are actually doing the same thing. In India and nearby other countries, and we are known as Ramakrishna Mission. And the outside world, it is Vedanta Society. But both the same Swamis from the same places, ideology is the same. And what we usually do, Swami Vivekananda, as they said, my philosophy can be said in 2 sentences: to make people aware about their divine nature and to help them to manifest it. To make people aware about their divine nature. And what is the divinity? It is love. And to help them to manifest it. So the jealousy, the hatred, the anger, all these things goes away when I'm self-confident. And that self-confidence is not ego. It takes us to self-containment, santosha, as they call it. And the moment its self-containment comes, we become not only happy myself and make all around people happy. Thank you, friends. I won't take much time. I invite Swami Atmajnananda ji over here. Then he himself will speak about himself, and please. Thank you.
ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. I bow down to Sri Ramakrishna, who embodies the essence of all religions, who is the embodiment of all religions, who came to establish the truth of all religions, who has validated all religions through his spiritual experiences and through his wonderful life, who is the best among incarnations, most suitable for the present age. I bow down to him. This is a salutary verse written by Swami Vivekananda, the disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, who knew him best. So we use this to offer our salutations to Sri Ramakrishna. Ajnanatimirandhasya jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave namaha. I bow down to the eternal Guru, the indwelling Guru, who removes all ignorance from my being, from my mind, by the light of knowledge. He opens my eyes to the truth, and I bow down to him. So this is a very famous salutary verse on the Guru. I will recite one more beautiful verse in Sanskrit, which is written by a scholar who visited our Mysore center to give a lecture. It's a beautiful verse in very simple Sanskrit. Vande Shri Sadgurum Pujyam Ramakrishnam Mahamatim Yasya Sukti Sudham Pitva Vivekanandayate Jagat. So it's a beautiful idea that he has put in this verse. He says, I bow down to the holy or reverential Ramakrishna, who is of an extraordinary mind, Mahamatim, who was born with the insight to see truth, to perceive truth. Okay? Sadgurum, he is the eternal Guru or the teacher, who is the best teacher, master. And he says, drinking from the nectar of his words, of his teachings, Yasya Sukti Sudham Pitva Vivekanandayate Jagat, the whole world gets illuminated. The whole world becomes Vivekananda, the joy of knowledge. The whole world can reach the heights of Vivekananda by reading his wonderful teachings. It's a beautiful idea that he puts here. So now I had chosen the topic trying to understand Sri Ramakrishna, the genius of Sri Ramakrishna, and I will speak about the movement that is happening in Brazil during the last 15 minutes or so. We need to understand the person whom we adore, the person whom we love, the ideal whom we try to emulate in our lives, isn't it? Without knowing the goal, without knowing the person, we can never have true love for the person. Sri Ramakrishna used to say in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, if you read it, he says, when you meet a person, it's natural that you will try to understand the person, try to know more about him, where he was born, who his parents were, what he is doing, what's his name. And nowadays, you ask them for their mobile number, you ask if they are on WhatsApp, to try to maintain contact with them. So he says, the more frequently you meet the person, the love, the relationship deepens. You understand the person better. He or she understands you better. Sri Ramakrishna says, when lovers meet, they meet frequently to develop a relationship. So Sri Ramakrishna was very humorous also, as you all know. Sometimes he would use these examples to give emphasis to his words. So he says, the more you meet, the better you understand the person. So now we try to meditate on Sri Ramakrishna, we try to emulate Sri Ramakrishna, we try to understand him. But how do we understand him? There are so many people who came to Sri Ramakrishna, the direct disciples, the devotees. There were so many people who met Sri Ramakrishna in his room in Dakshineshwar, or when he used to come to various places in Calcutta. This is something unique about Sri Ramakrishna. You see, he lived in a very small room in the temple. If you go to Dakshineshwar, you can see the room where he stayed, where he lived. For 30 years, he stayed there in that room, that small room where there's only one small cot on which he used to take a little rest, and a small couch on which he used to sit and meet people. No other furniture in that room, other than a simple jug of water from which he used to take water, and a few beautiful pictures of saints on the wall, like Prahlada, Dhruva, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He used to see that and then go into Samadhi, or that used to inspire him to speak about these great lives or whatever. So, this man, Sri Ramakrishna, had literally nothing to call his own. The room belonged to the temple. He was just an employee in the temple, a priest. And after his spiritual attainments, when he saw only consciousness or God everywhere, when he had the vision of Kali and had that supreme spiritual experience called Nirvikalpa Samadhi, he could no longer do his daily duties. He could no longer do the traditional worship. It was something beyond. There was no need for him to do it, and he saw only consciousness everywhere. So how could he do something which was mundane, something which was worldly? So actions or work simply dropped off from his routine. And realizing this, the owner of the temple, the person who was directly controlling the temple, who was a son-in-law of Rani Rashmani, Mathurnath Babu, he was a great devotee of Sri Ramakrishna. He admired Sri Ramakrishna, and he told him, "Oh Baba, you don't have to do the duties, just be here, and that's a blessing for this place. This place will become alive by your being here." So he stayed there, lived in that small room, would meet people tirelessly. People used to come all through the day, and he would go on talking to them about God, about his spiritual experiences, about the truth of religion, about so many things connected to spiritual life. He would go on instructing them, meeting them, talking to them tirelessly, day after day, day and night. And those people were just absorbed, seeing him talk about God in this way, absolutely unselfish way, because they wouldn't bring anything for him, neither would he ask anything to be brought. He never asked people to bring something for him. He never had any desires. Oh, I want this, I want that, I have to go here, I have to go there. No. At the most, he would ask them to maybe pay for a carriage fare to go to some place in Calcutta and meet devotees. That was the only thing that he would ask them to do. Maybe pay for the carriage, take some devotees, boys with him to some devotee's house, meet people, sing and dance and talk about God. So he never tired of talking about God. His store of knowledge about God was inexhaustible. He could go on for hours and hours, days talking about God and spiritual life. And he would say, whenever I run out of stock, whenever I run out of ideas, the Mother, the Divine Mother, pushes all that information into my head and I just mouth it. I'm just an instrument in her hands. She speaks through me. So that was his attitude. Naham, naham, tuhu, tuhu. He used to say this. Not me, not I, but you. You are the indweller who is making me everything. I'm just an instrument. This was a beautiful humility that he had. He was so humble. And many people thought Sri Ramakrishna was mad, always thinking about God. Which person in the world does this? Well, people are mad after money, as Sri Ramakrishna would say. People are mad after money, people are mad after name, fame, family, this and that. But how many cry for God? How many people are mad for God? Sri Ramakrishna was a different type. He only was mad for God. And when he used to cry for the Mother, saying, Ma, Ma, rubbing his face on the ground sometimes in divine agony, pain for the vision of Mother, people thought must be he's lost his dear mother a few days back or something, and then he's pining for her. So they never understood that he is crying for the Divine Mother, or his longing, that divine longing which had seized him. So Sri Ramakrishna was considered mad by some people, an aberration by some people, as a genius by some people, as a saint by some people, as a holy man of pure character who had no worldly taint in him. Some people looked upon him as the incarnation, as a manifestation of God. Some people had visions of Kali, Shiva, Rama, Krishna, all these wonderful ideals or their own chosen deities in him. So Sri Ramakrishna was all of these, and yet he had his own uniqueness, individuality, sweetness, which made him different from all these categories that people tried to put him in. You read the life of Sri Ramakrishna, you read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, immediately you get attracted to his simplicity, to his love for God. And there is something in Sri Ramakrishna, a magnet in Sri Ramakrishna which attracts you, brings you back to him again and again. This was the experience of many devotees who came to Sri Ramakrishna. They felt so attracted that they could just not forget Sri Ramakrishna. They would be waiting to go back to Sri Ramakrishna and listen to his words of wisdom, including Naren, who later on became Swami Vivekananda. When he started coming as a young college student to Sri Ramakrishna used to give a lot of attention, love, and give him some special instructions, maybe feed him and talk to him about spiritual life, give him special instructions, and all this. It went on for quite some time. So much so that when Naren came, Sri Ramakrishna would simply merge in samadhi. Just by looking at him, just by seeing the purity of his character, seeing the one-mindedness, one-pointedness of his love for God, for truth, seeing his genius, Sri Ramakrishna would merge in samadhi. And while giving attention to Naren, he would send the other boys, oh, go and meditate, go to the temple and here and there. and give individual attention to this boy. Talk to him about his deep spiritual experiences. Try to make him understand Sri Ramakrishna better. He wanted Naren to understand him the best because he knew Naren is going to spread his message. Okay? So it was pre-arranged. Sri Ramakrishna knew everything. And he started giving him, coaching him. And when Naren started coming to Sri Ramakrishna, after some time, Ramakrishna would not look at him when he came. He would not even talk to him. He would turn his face away when he came, neglected him, ignored him. This went on for months, for more than a month. Whenever he came, Sri Ramakrishna never spoke to him, did not even inquire him, how are you, what are you doing, any questions, because Naren was always full of questions, asking questions to Sri Ramakrishna, and Sri Ramakrishna would love to give him the answers and educate him. But he stopped talking to him, looking at him, and Naren continued to come in spite of this ignorance, in spite of this ignoring. This went on for a long time. And after about a month, when Naren continued to come, one day Sri Ramakrishna asked him, Naren, I've been ignoring you. I'm not talking to you. I don't look at you also. But how is it that you still continue to come? Why do you come? Why are you coming here? And Naren says, I'm not coming here because you praise me or you praise me. Oh, Sri Ramakrishna used to praise Naren so much in front of others. Oh, this man, this young boy is a genius, he will work wonders. All this he used to say. Naren says, I'm not coming here because you praise me in front of other people. I'm not coming here because you give me importance in front of other people. I come here because I love you. This is the only thing that drew Naren back to him. In fact, later on, after his success in the West, and when he came back to India, somebody asked him, can you describe Sri Ramakrishna? Swami Vivekananda said, he is L-O-V-E in capitals. Love personified. That was Sri Ramakrishna to Swami Vivekananda, to the direct disciples. To Mathurnath Bishwas, who was the son-in-law of Rani Rasmani, he used to come to Dakshineshwar. He would stay in Calcutta, but he would frequently come to Dakshineshwar, the temple, in order to pass the accounts or look into the affairs, administer the property. And when he came to Dakshineshwar, he would meet Sri Ramakrishna, stay there for 2 or 3 days. There was a big house where he used to stay. And he was initially trying to understand Sri Ramakrishna. He did realize that Sri Ramakrishna was of an extraordinary character, a pure character, a spiritual person, but he did not understand the total importance of Sri Ramakrishna, that he was an incarnation, that he was a man of God, that it was God on earth who had come to reveal spiritual life or religion to humanity. So he thought he was just an ordinary saint, a good person. And one day, when he was sitting there smoking the hubble bubble, Sri Ramakrishna was walking, pacing forth outside his room on the veranda. There was a big veranda in front of his room. Even now you can see that. And this person was sitting outside his room, smoking a hubble bubble and just seeing, just looking into what's happening in the temple. And suddenly he found, to his astonishment, Sri Ramakrishna, when he was walking, one way he found Ma Kali walking. Okay? And then as Sri Ramakrishna turned this side, he found him to be Shiva. So he thought, must be this is some hallucination that's happening. He rubbed his eyes, looked again, and again he had the vision of Kali and Shiva, Kali and Shiva, Shiva, Kali. This happened for quite some time. And then he just threw his hookah, came and fell at the feet of Sri Ramakrishna. What is that I'm seeing in you? Sri Ramakrishna, of course, he knew everything. He said, oh, you had this vision? Don't tell it to anybody. Keep it within yourself. Sri Ramakrishna never wanted publicity. He did not care for advertising his spiritual greatness. He would always say, oh, if it is a vision, if you have seen something, keep it for you. That is between me and you, not for others. He said, when the mother wants, he would say, when the mother wants, when the time comes, when the proper time comes, nothing can stop people from recognizing this manifestation of divinity. People will recognize, people will worship this divinity in times to come. He said to Holy Mother, Sharda Devi, you will see that in later days you will find this. He would say this. He would not refer to himself in the first pronoun as me or as I. He would say this. He would say, you will see this being worshipped in every house. He would say, this will be worshipped in the trains, in the steamers, in the boats, in the shops. Everywhere you will find people accepting this. If you go to many places in India, when you can find Sri Ramakrishna in all parts of the world. In America, you go to so many houses, in devotees' houses, you will see Sri Ramakrishna there. And then in Brazil, from where I'm coming, you will find it in so many houses. Wherever I go, I see Sri Ramakrishna there, Swami Vivekananda there. And in India, in shops, on the roadside, in the chai dukan, in the trains, in the buses, in the cars, everywhere you find Sri Ramakrishna's picture. Why? People find some inspiration. People adore him, admire him for his spiritual genius. Sri Ramakrishna contributed to our understanding of religion and spirituality in a very significant way. But for Sri Ramakrishna, we would have lost faith in religion and spirituality, that God can be seen, that God can be experienced, that spirituality is something that can be experienced. It is because of Sri Ramakrishna and his experiences that humanity has got back that faith in religion. There was a time when Sri Ramakrishna came, when the Western materialistic attitude had overtaken all minds, including the Indian mind. And they thought all this religion and spirituality and all this is humbug, only making money, living a life given to pleasures and worldly prosperity is the only thing that is to be done, because the West was prosperous, was doing well, people seemed to be happy, and they wanted to imitate and emulate that. The underlying difficulties, turmoil, the psychological problems, all these that we feel today was little understood at that time. And Sri Ramakrishna came to change this trend of thinking, staying in Calcutta as it was called. That was the capital of British India, given to all the Western influences, where the British were staying and then showing to the local people, the Indians, that Western civilization, Christianity is better than their local beliefs and customs. They were trying to say that what you are worshipping, this image worship, all this Hindu belief systems are wrong, because that has not given you prosperity, that has not given you material benefits. So coming there, staying in that place in Kolkata, moving from his village where he was born, he came and stayed in that small room and did such intense spiritual practices, had such wonderful realizations that it changed the trend of thinking in the people. All the educated people started coming to him, sitting at his feet and learning his message of harmony, his message of peace, his message of spiritual awakening. They were just surprised that one person who comes from a village in India could have such Catholicity, such acceptance of other faiths, that all paths are the same, that all paths lead to the same goal. This is something new. No religion spoke about this. Everybody said, my religion, my path is supreme. All other things take you away from God. And here was this man who was saying that all paths take you to the same goal. It's the same God that you experience, it's the same divinity that you experience through various ways. He would give the beautiful example which is quoted in the Upanishads also. You make ornaments out of gold. Somebody makes a necklace, somebody makes a ring, somebody makes a crown. They are different ornaments, designed in different ways, maybe more artistic, less artistic, but it's all essentially gold. Only the shape is different. The color may be a little different with some gems and other things added, but it's gold in a sense. Only the name is different, the form is different. So similarly, Sri Ramakrishna would say, it is the same divine God or power, whatever you call, which is called by different names, approached by different names, and adored in different ways by different people according to their culture, their language, their traditions. It is the same divine. He would give another beautiful example. He would say if there is a pond of water, so people use that water for their household needs, for drinking, for washing clothes, for bathing, whatever it is. They approach the same lake through different points. Somebody calls it pani, somebody calls it agua, somebody calls it water, somebody calls it jal. The names are different, but the water, the true reality behind all these names is the same. The way it is used may be different. The names are different. The purpose for which it is used is different, but the same thing is being used and approached in different ways. So this is what Sri Ramakrishna repeated again and again, that all paths lead to the same goal, which is found in one of the most ancient of the Vedas, the Rig Veda. Ekam sat vipraha bahudha vadanti. The same truth, the same reality is called by different people, by people who have experienced it, by people who have realized it in different names. This is there in the oldest Upanishads, in the Vedas, which is at least some 10,000 years before Christ. So this has been the intrinsic faith or belief in all Indian systems, though it was not practiced, that religion is one, humanity is one. Maybe the races are different, the colors are different, the countries are different, the languages are different, cultures are different, but as human beings, as one humanity, we are one community, we are one. One of the most famous Upanishads, Chandogya, says, this world is like a nest. We are all birds from the same nest. It's not different nests, birds of different colors, birds of different plumage. No, it's all one nest. We are one as humanity. This world is one unit. We are all here for some time. So let's not fight amidst ourselves. This is the eternal message which Swami Vivekananda also expressed when he spoke in the Parliament of Religions at Chicago. I feel so blessed to be here in this sacred place where Swamiji's message reached millions of people during the Chicago Parliament of Religions in 1893, and I am very grateful to Swami Ishatmananda for giving me this opportunity to be here with you all. Now I think I'll speak a little about Brazil, the Ramakrishna Vivekananda movement, Vedanta movement in Brazil. It all started with the Chicago Parliament of Religions. Swamiji's appearance in the Parliament of Religions and his personality, his wonderful ideas were very widely reported in almost all parts of the world, including India, and it reached South America also. There are reports of Swamiji's success in America in the media or the local newspapers in South America, Argentina and Brazil. As you know, the continent of South America is a vast continent with 12 countries, independent countries, of which Brazil is the largest. In fact, Brazil is the 5th largest country in the world today, after US, Canada, China and Russia. Brazil stands the 5th largest country in the world. But as you all know, again, so more than 1/3 of Brazil is covered by the Amazon forests and the Amazon basin. So a huge part is forested, and that's the best part of Brazil because it provides oxygen to the entire world. Amazon forest is the life source for humanity. So it's necessary that we preserve and see that the forests are not destroyed in Brazil. That's a big movement that's happening, and the present government is much aware of it. So Brazil is a very rich country. Minerals, natural resources, natural beauty, you name it, and Brazil has it. Rio, from where I come, is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. If you have seen the tourist maps, Rio is considered the best city in the world for its natural beauty. You have plenty of beaches, you have mountains, you have forests, you have everything in the city. There's no end to enjoying nature or the beauty that the world can provide for you. So Rio was the capital of Brazil till 60 years back. Then the capital was shifted to the central part of Brazil called Brasilia. So Rio is no longer the capital, but at one time it was at its heyday. It was a capital with beautiful buildings, and the Portuguese occupied Brazil. They came to Brazil, they discovered Brazil, so-called discovered, because there were already people there. There were already indigenous people who had settled there for a long time. Brazil, Argentina, Peru, all these places. You have the famous Mayan and Inca civilizations which flourished in that part. So, but the Portuguese landed there in 1500, and immediately, like the colonizers, they started occupying lands, killing the locals, divide and rule policy. They brought in fights between the tribes and controlled them and killed them. So we have very few pockets of aboriginals today staying in the Amazon forest somewhere here and there. They are protected communities, protected tribes, but most of them are gone. Their languages, their culture, the rich heritage that they had, everything is lost. We have lost so much knowledge by killing them. Anyhow, the Portuguese came and then started controlling. They had sugar plantations, coffee plantations. They brought in slaves from America and other parts to work for them, controlled the prosperity of this place, and unfortunately, in 1700, gold was discovered in Brazil, and that ended all prospects of these people becoming rich. So they looted the gold. They engaged a British company to exploit gold and transported all the gold and diamonds and everything that was there. So this is the sad part of Brazil. Just like India was colonized by the British, the Portuguese occupied Brazil, and the Spanish occupied Argentina and other parts. All the other countries in South America speak Spanish mainly, Espanol, whereas Brazil has Portuguese as the official language. English is there. Most of the youngsters speak English because they learn English, they study English in order to be conversant with the computers and the software. The older generation is more familiar with Portuguese. They love to speak Portuguese and understand English but are not able to speak. So Portuguese is the official language. And the movement, as I said, started when reports of Swami Vivekananda came to South America. So there was an interested group of students in Argentina. They formed a society, started reading Vedanta, studying Vedanta and Vivekananda's lectures. So they got interested in Vedanta and they started writing to Belur Math, or the Prabuddha Bharata, as that was the most popular part of, organ of Belur Math. They wrote letters frequently to Prabuddha Bharata asking for guidance and asking for a Swami to come to Argentina to teach them Vedanta. They wanted somebody to guide them. And these letters were forwarded to Belur Math. And Swami Shivanandaji Maharaj, the direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, who was our president, was a great Swami. The letters were sent to him, the letters came to him, and then he took a very favorable decision because he could see the flag of Vedanta in South America. He had some spiritual vision about the spread of Vedanta in South America. So he appointed Swami Vijayanandaji Maharaj, who was a disciple of Swami Brahmanandaji, another direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, Rakhal. So this Vijayanandaji, his earlier name was Pashupati Maharaj. He was an engineer, highly qualified engineer, a chemical engineer, and he had joined under Swami Brahmanandaji. Brahmanandaji had great love for him, and he was a sevak of Mahapurush Maharaj, Shivanandaji. So Shivanandaji loved him very much. He had great love for Shivanandaji and Raja Maharaj as well. So Shivanandaji asked him to go to South America, to Argentina, to teach Vedanta to the people there. Now this Pashupati Maharaj, Vijayanandaji, was in a fix. He did not want to leave the company of these great spiritual giants like Shivanandaji and the other direct disciples who were there. So he refused. He said, no, I'm not interested. I don't want to leave your company. How can I go away from you? So then there was some amount of dilly-dallying going on. At that time, Master Mahashaya, who is the recorder of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, he knew this young Pashupati Maharaj. So he came to Belur Math and heard about this confusion that was there in Vijayanandaji's mind. So he said, oh, Pashupati, what is this I'm hearing about you? I thought you were a soldier of Swami Vivekananda and you refused to go to South America to teach Ramakrishna, Vivekananda and Vedanta. How can this happen? How could you be so selfish? He said, no, you see, I would have accepted, but I don't want to give up the company of Swami Shivanandaji, Swami Subodhanandaji, all these great stalwarts who are here. I don't want to go that far, giving up these people. Maybe I'll never see them again. Then Master got even more wild. He said, that makes you more selfish. If you are only bothered about your company of holy people, then that means you are more selfish. You must go. You cannot refuse to do this work of Swami Vivekananda. And then he accepted it. He knew that this was wrong what he was doing, and then he said, okay, I'll go. So he came in 1932 to Argentina. In 1932, he came to Argentina. Of course, the only way in which he could come was by ship. He traveled all the way and came, and he was a very dynamic and wonderful person. Swami Brahmanandaji must have definitely given him some powers when he came. So he had some spiritual power when he came, and he celebrated the birthday of Sri Ramakrishna for the first time in 1933, just 1 year after he came to Argentina. It was a big program he organized in Argentina, which attracted attention, which brought Sri Ramakrishna's teachings to the forefront. So he started spreading Vedanta, speaking about Sri Ramakrishna. He learned the language, Espanol. He could speak in Espanol beautifully. Then in 1950s, there was another group of students in Brazil, Rio, who started reading about Vedanta, about Ramakrishna, Vivekananda, had a study circle, and they invited Swami Vijayanandaji to come to Rio to teach Vedanta. So, accepting their request, Swami Vijayanandaji came to Rio. So, the movement in Brazil started in Rio. So, he used to come to Rio, stay in a rented place and give lectures in the city at various venues to different people, to doctors, to engineers, to people who could understand, and it gathered attention. And in the meanwhile, there was one group of this Freemason movement. They started an esoteric club, okay, adopting 5 prominent people of the world as ideals or the people to be emulated for people in Brazil, and Swami Vivekananda was one of them. So, this group was in Sao Paulo. So, the person was a Portuguese. He started a movement, a library, where he collected all these books of Swami Vivekananda, which were available in Espanol at that time. So, he brought these books, some books in English. They used to have regular classes and lectures on these books on various topics of Vedanta, on liberation, on freedom, on various aspects. It was a Freemason movement. So, Swami Vivekananda was well known by the time when Pashupati Maharaj or Vijayanandaji came. So, slowly the movement started getting consolidated. He initiated many people in Brazil, in Argentina, and he moved around some places in Brazil, Sao Paulo, Rio, etc. So, a group started forming around him in Rio and Sao Paulo. Even today we have some of his disciples living. They are all very old but very committed to Vedanta. So, then after his passing away, another Swami came as his assistant. Swami Vijayanandaji brought him. Pashupati Maharaj brought Swami Paratparananda to Brazil, to Argentina and Brazil. It was combined, the work was combined, Argentina and Brazil. So, Paratparanji came, and he stayed for some time. He was also a very good person. He did a lot of work in publishing books of Swami Vivekananda, the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, and all these books. So, he gave a lot of importance to the spread of literature, Paratparanji. So, under his time, many translations and other good works started. So, but unfortunately, he had to go back to India after some time, and he was replaced by Swami Pareshanandaji, who is now the head in Buenos Aires Center in Argentina. So, he also traveled around, gave initiation to people, met people. So, he is still there. He is old, 80 years old now, but a nice Swami, very admired. And then the headquarters felt that he needs more help. So, they sent Swami Atmajnananda in 1999 to Rio. Specifically, they separated Argentina and Rio. The work in the two countries were separated, and Atmajnananda Maharaj came to Rio in 1999. So, he contacted all these disciples of Vijayanandaji, brought them together and strengthened the movement, made the center strong in its foundations. And then he moved from Rio to Sao Paulo. In Rio, there was one lady disciple of Swami Vijayanandaji who was a spinster, who had not married but very dedicated to Vedanta, Cordelia Jesus. So, she was completely dedicated to Vedanta. She loved her guru so much, an old lady. So, she said she had 2 apartments, 2 small apartments in Rio. So, she was staying in one apartment and she let the other apartment to be used as a center. So, they used to have a small room for the Swami and one small room where they used to sit together, sing and read books and have talks on Vedanta, Ramakrishna, Vivekananda. So, Atmajnandaji stayed in that small room and the ashrama continued there for some time. So, she wrote a will that after my passing away, both these houses can be sold and a permanent center of Vedanta must be started in Rio. This was her wish. So she had written that will, and after her passing away, both the houses were sold, and with the money that was generated, independent house was purchased in Rio in a very beautiful and popular spot called Santa Teresa. It is a small hill, and if you Google Rio and the tourist spots in Rio, you will find Santa Teresa there. So it's a place, a beautiful place, which was habited by, which was the place for artisans, artists, musicians, artists, and all these people of culture stayed there. It's a nice place on the top of a small hill. So we have an independent house. This house, interestingly, was built in 1865 when Sri Ramakrishna was alive. 1865. So it's an old structure, heritage structure, recognized as a heritage structure of the city. This building is built only from from stones, no cement, stone structure, and the only material used to put the stones together is whale oil and mud, no cement. There was no cement in those days. So it's a beautiful house with thick walls, 1.5 feet thick walls. So even in summer, when there's 40 degrees outside, it's cool and pleasant inside. So we have 2 floors. On the ground floor, we have the temple and the living quarters for monastics. We have 3 small rooms. And on the first floor, we have a kitchen, a small dining place, and a big hall where we have the talks. The hall is almost 3/4 of this big hall that you have. So we can easily sit around 100 people. So all events like Sri Ramakrishna Jayanti and all this, we have feasts and meeting and all that in this place. The temple is half of that. So easily 60 people can sit in that temple. And the people of Rio are very musical in nature. They sing and chant well, read well. They are very much interested in these artistic capacities. So a newcomer also will take up some musical instrument and start playing and singing. They all sing Khandana, Om Hrim Ritam, Sarvamangala beautifully every day. No need of books or anything. Even on Mondays, we have the chanting of Shiva Mahimna Stotra. Most of them don't see the books. They know it by heart. And on Tuesdays, we chant Vishnu Sahasranama. Again, they are so interested in all this. They sing, they have so many beautiful songs on Sri Ramakrishna, Mother, on spiritual life in Portuguese, which they sing. So it's a very vibrant group. We have the old timers also, and we have youngsters also coming, both boys and girls who are interested in Vedanta. They like the liberal ideas of Vedanta, that yes, all religions are true, all paths are true, that there is innate divinity in everybody, this, that you're not a sinner, all these ideas. Am I right, Jonah? So we have one young boy here, Jonathas, who is a professional gymnast. He works in a circus company. So this way, it is a growing movement. So in Brazil, we have a center in Sao Paulo, which is the financial capital of Brazil, like Mumbai in India. So that is an old center. They have one house which was belonging to a disciple of Swami Vivekananda, and then the house that was adjacent came up for sale later on. So they purchased and combined the 2 houses to form one property. And then again after some time, one adjacent house which was used as a community hall or a wedding place, okay, that came up for sale. And so the Swami had that purchased and modified it into a beautiful temple. So the temple is there now. It's a big place like this, and they have all events in that place. So they have 3 beautiful properties, and it's a nice center. The number of people coming is also good, but they don't sing and participate like the people of Rio. They are silent and sit and meditate and all that. Rio has a very vibrant group. Then we have, that was the first official center, Sao Paulo. Then Rio was accepted as an official center in 2009, sorry. And in 2006, another center was accepted, that is Curitiba. That is again in the south of Brazil. It is on the top of a hill. It's a cold place. So the temperatures can go down to maybe 2 or 1, sometimes minus. Rarely there is snowfall in that place. And the maximum temperature goes to only around 15 or 16, something like that. But it's a beautiful center. We have an independent house and everything. There is a Swami now, Swami Atmajnananda, who came there from South Africa. So he is there as the president. He came in 2020. Okay, he came in 2020 and it became an official independent center of the Ramakrishna movement in Brazil. Then in 2021, I was asked to come to Rio, and with my coming, it became an independent center, Rio. So we have these 3 official centers, and we have 2 sub-centers of Sao Paulo. One in the capital, Brasilia. We have a beautiful group and an independent house that was also accepted as a center, sub-center recently. And then we have another center in Belo Horizonte. That is another city in Minas Gerais where the gold mines were found. Okay, so there's no more gold now, or probably it's still there below. It was all excavated and removed. You have all those mines, old mines. But Minas Gerais is a place where you find these gems and stones, precious stones. So a lot of mines and a nicely developed area. So we have a center there. This is about the Vedanta movement in Brazil. So it's a growing movement. Brazil, as you all know, is a developing country. It's not a rich country like in the US. And the population there, the Brazilian population, is a mixed population. So you have people who came in from Portugal, from Italy, from Germany, from Lebanon, and all other places who came, and then there are Japanese people who came and who settled there. So it's a mixed population, and they don't identify themselves with any particular religion or tradition. Yes, Catholicism, Christianity is the most popular religion or maximum practiced religion. The youngsters, most of them, don't identify themselves with anything. They say, oh, we are spiritual, they don't say religious. They identify themselves with spiritual life and quest and all that. So, but the churches are well attended. All the churches are full for the congregations, unlike in US where churches are being sold. People are not going to the churches. That's what I've heard. There people go to the churches. They are faithful. They are intrinsic. Catholics are the maximum. There is Protestant faith also. And indigenous faiths, which are a mixture of African beliefs like Umbanda, Candomblé and all these, were brought in by the slaves, and they have retained to these secretly. And now, after the freedom came, they have developed it, and there are groups practicing these indigenous faiths. So there is a mixture of everything, but they are open to ideas. They are open to new beliefs. They don't have rigid beliefs systems. So it's a nice group, and the devotees who come to our center, there are many who come for the first time, and maybe after 2-3 times, yeah, it's a completely different culture, and way of teaching is different. So maybe 2-3 times, and some of them don't turn back, but most of them come back. Most of them hold on, especially the youngsters. They listen to these songs and then come back and stay, listen to Vedanta and get interested. Yoga is very popular. Hatha yoga is very popular. There are many groups of practicing yoga and tantras and all sorts of combinations. So we also have yoga classes in most of our centers, Sao Paulo and Rio. So people come to learn yoga and then try to go to Vedanta from there. We have a small bookstore where books in Portuguese are sold. We have all the 4 yogas of Swamiji translated in Portuguese. The latest editions are very good: Karma Yoga, Raja Yoga, Gnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. We have books on meditation. We are getting a new translation, or the most up-to-date translation of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. It's coming out, it's already in the press. The first volume is going to be published very soon. So incidentally, Sao Paulo Center will be celebrating 25 years of its starting. 25 years is going to be celebrated next year. So before this, the Gospel's translation is going to be published. Swamiji has helped us by sending us some donations for the publishing of this Gospel. There was a Gospel which was published from that Espanol, or the Spanish version. It was a compilation of the Gospel as written by M, but compiled by Swami Abhedanandji, a direct disciple of Sri Ram. It's not available in English, but the Spanish and the Portuguese versions are available. So that was in circulation, but there are some errors in it. It was a small version, not complete. So now we are having the full version with photographs and all that. So this is about Rio, Sao Paulo, Brazil. Maharaj, if there is time, I'll just mention 2 more points. Huh? Is it okay? 2 interesting incidents which show that Sri Ramakrishna is not restricted only to Bengal or India or the Hindu faith. Sri Ramakrishna is a universal phenomenon, to say. There is a beautiful incident that happened in the life of Sri Ramakrishna. One day, Sri Ramakrishna was in his room, lying on his bed in Samadhi. There were Rakal and other disciples were sitting in the room, talking to him. They had been talking to him about God, and suddenly Sri Ramakrishna mentioned Samadhi. It was midday time, and Holy Mother Sharda Devi and Lokhi, who was the niece of Sri Ramakrishna, came to his room with the food plate to give him food. And they came and saw Sri Ramakrishna lying there. As soon as these 2 women came, the young boys left the room, okay, to give them privacy. They came and then kept the plates there, but Sri Ramakrishna was not responding. They tried to call him. He was in Samadhi. They called him a few times, and then Holy Mother became anxious. She started pressing his feet, trying to wake him up, bring him back from Samadhi, and Lakshmi was also trying to call him, but there was no response. He was almost like a log. So after some time, both of these women got afraid that maybe Sri Ramakrishna has left his body, and they started crying, shouting. And the young boys, Rakal and others, they heard this commotion, came back to the room, and they also started calling Sri Ramakrishna and waking him up. So after a few moments of this process, when people were shouting and trying to wake him up, Sri Ramakrishna's mind came down and then said, "Oh, why are you shouting so much? Why is there so much commotion? What happened?" They said, "Oh, you are not responding. We thought something wrong could have happened. You are not answering our calls." Sri Ramakrishna said, "Oh, is that all? Why are you so afraid? I was in a beautiful land. There were so many white people whose hearts were pure, serving me with great love and devotion. I was enjoying their company. Oh, why did you call me back from there?" This was the experience of Sri Ramakrishna. So Sri Ramakrishna liked being in the West. Okay? So now, this is the background. There are 2 instances about 2 people in Brazil who had extraordinary visions. One was a journalist in this Belo Horizonte, where we have a center. He was a journalist, a young man, Arlindo. One day, he was sitting outside his home, and there was a small swimming pool, a pond in his house. He was just sitting there in the morning, early morning, and suddenly he saw a figure come up from that swimming pool. A person appeared from that swimming pool. He had never seen somebody wearing such type of clothes, He did not know who that person was, and that person addressed this man, I don't know in which language, probably Portuguese, I don't know, and said, you see, there are so many poor students around you. Why don't you do something for them? Why don't you help the poor? This man was a Christian and had a deep connection with spiritualists, spiritists. He had a teacher also. Then this vision was just for a few minutes. That person told this and then disappeared. So this Arlindo, he got confused. Who is this man? And why is he coming and telling me of all the people? How am I to go about this? Do I believe this? Is this a hallucination? Was it something that is a creation of my own mind? He got doubts. He went to his master, a spiritist, and said, you see, I had some such experience. Do you think it's real? Do I need to follow this? That man had some insight. He said, yes, you have to follow this. He is a great saint who came to you. He also did not know the name, but he said, he is a saint and you have to follow. It's good for you. So he came home, collected a few boys from his surroundings and started teaching them in his own house. He had a small place in his house. He collected a few boys and started teaching them the subjects and other things, trying to help them in their education. So then after a few days, again, this person came in the vision and said, oh, it is good that you are doing this work, but I am not happy with this. Just 3 or 4 boys and girls from your neighborhood, you must do it in a big way. Go out, teach and reach more people. I am not happy with the small work that you are doing. So this man again got confused, then went to his spiritist master and said, you see, again he comes and tells me like this. So that person said, yes, follow him. So then he went and started looking for friends and collected some money and then bought a big property in a place just outside Minas Gerais, in a place called Betim. So there he went and then bought a big property and then started inviting students from the surrounding villages to come, and then slowly the movement started, became a big place. In the meantime, one of his friends from Portugal, who was in Europe, sent him a book about Sri Ramakrishna, the life of Sri Ramakrishna in Portuguese. He started reading that book and he found some pictures in that book. From those pictures, he identified that the person who came to him in vision was Swami Brahmananda. Of all the people, Swami Brahmanandaji came to him 2 times and asked him to do seva, work. Okay? So then he started a hostel for boys and girls in that place, Betim, and started teaching these students and vocational training, carpentry, food processing, so many things, beautiful things. It's there. It's a huge institution now, Institute Swami Ramakrishna. So there are more than thousands of students who are going through this training, learning. More than 20,000 students must have passed out of its portals in the course of these years. So then there was a hostel, and after some time they started facing water shortage because the number of students was big and they were not having enough water. So the government was about to close it down for water shortage. So he wanted to dig a bore well. So he didn't know where to start digging the bore well. He engaged a company, but then there was some doubts where they will get water. They could not pinpoint the place. And again Swami Brahmananda came in a vision and said, dig at this point, showed him the spot. So he started digging there. They went down, but at one point they encountered rock. The machine would not go further down. Again Swami Brahmananda came in a vision and said, no, you go down further, you will get good water. And they went down and got good water, and now, even now, that institution is going on. Wonderful institution. You can see it. I have been there. That is one inspiring incident that shows that the foundations of the movement in Brazil are strong. And another person, Antonio, he was born and brought up in Egypt, Cairo. You may have read these incidents in Global Vedanta or something. So this boy, when he was a young boy, maybe 12, 13 years, he somehow contracted typhoid somewhere in 1920s. At that time, there was no medicine for typhoid. The antibiotics had not yet been found out. So he was almost on his deathbed. So anybody who contracted typhoid would die after some time. So this boy, this fever was going on for more than 10 days, and the parents thought this boy is going to die. They left him on the bed to quietly pass away. But then there was a beautiful statue of Mother Mary in front of his bed. So this boy, innocent boy, used to look at the statue of Virgin Mary and go on praying to her. Oh, why this happened to me? Won't you save me? Something like that. He was going on praying. And suddenly he had the vision of a lady in white robes, in a dress which again he could not identify. And she came, put her hand on his head and put something in his mouth and said, "You will be okay." And he started recovering from the next day. In 2 or 3 days, he had completely recovered, became all right again, and went back to his life. Then they shifted to Brazil, to Sao Paulo. The parents and the boy, his younger brother, they shifted to Sao Paulo. He forgot about this incident. He didn't know who that lady was. It was not Mary, but somebody in a different dress pattern. So he just forgot. The incident was there, but he was trying to see who that lady was, trying to identify, and he was not getting any leads. So then he got married, got into a job in Sao Paulo, and then was going on with his normal life. He had a family. One day he was going on the road with his friend in front of our Sao Paulo ashram. He was passing by. He just saw the board there, Ramakrishna, Vivekananda, Vedanta Center. He was curious. He was going to different places trying to see who helped him in his moment of crisis, and he just thought, maybe I'll just see inside, go inside. He came in, and in the entrance, just at the entrance, there is a beautiful picture of Holy Mother Sharda Devi. He looked at that, stopped, and started shedding tears. "She is the lady who came and helped me, who saved my life," he said. And then the Swami asked, "What is it? What is the incident? Why are you emotional? Why are you crying? What happened? Please tell us." So he narrated the incident and said, "Yes, this lady came in a vision and helped me." So he started coming regularly. Every Sunday he used to come. He has passed away just recently. So that is another interesting, inspiring incident. You see, Holy Mother blessing the person, saving his life. So we have Swami Brahmananda and Swami and Sharda Devi in Brazil. If you want, please come and see them. Thank you, Swamiji, for giving me this wonderful opportunity. I know you won't have any questions to ask about Ramakrishna, Vivekananda, or Holy Mother. So thank you for giving me a patient hearing.
Thank you, Swamiji, and thank you all for this. Then we have to plan to visit Rio, right?
Yes.
Sometimes. So the wonderful, see how this movement is spreading. This Ramakrishna movement, no business houses are helping, no government is helping, no political parties are at the back, but only the pure spirituality that is touching the heart of different holy people in different places is going out. In 1930, one Swami came over here in Chicago. 1893, Vivekananda came to Chicago, gave the lecture and all that. Then 1930, one Swamiji came. You have already noticed that. So by that way, he came and he fought over here, and that was the recess time. No one was helping him, but still, slowly, depression time. Depression time. That is the way he continued over here. Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna said, whoever will come over here will get liberation. Come over here means in the idea of Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna. So thank you, friends. So those who want liberation, no more birth, no more toiling, no more all these things, come to Sri Ramakrishna. Thank you. Let us say Shanti 3 times and we go for the prasad. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om.
Somebody wants to have it, they can have it. They can do it.
Sure. So Swamiji, he was asked me to say that if any one of you wants to help in their work in Brazil, then you can please help them. So it will be a really great, big job. Because they are trying to build up over there, and I'll also be very happy if you can please help them. Thank you.